Hi, this is Enthusiastic Steve, and this is Icoms Icom and why you need one.
And I buy shop bought pastry, puff pastry. I can do the crimping, and I usually put too much filling, so it's difficult to crimp, but they still come out okay.
The Icom 706 Mark II-G. So why do you need one? Well, let's start by taking a look at this amazing radio. One of the first things you will notice is the big green clear display. The radio also illuminates some of the press keys, which is very useful for dimly lit rooms or nighttime operations. The Icom is a chunky old beast, though compact. It's about 6.5 inches in old money, 2.25 by 7 3/4. So a convenient size to fit on a desk or in a car or truck, etc. So what can this little old radio do? Well, for starters, it's got a receive range of 30 kilohertz up to 199 megahertz, a small gap, and then 400 to 470 megahertz on receive. In standard form on transmit, it transmits on all the HF amateur bands, with the exception of 60 meters. It covers 6 meters, 2 and 70 SEMS, all modes, AM, FM, sideband and CW. And fed with a decent power supply, it will pull out up to 100 watts HF and on 6 meters, 50 watts on 2 meters and 20 watts on 70 centimeters.
United H, Ben Papa, Germany. Hello, Zero, from November 4, Whiskey Foxtrot, Unit 1. This is Barry, Bravo, Alpha, Romeo, Yankee in North Carolina. You're 5 and 8.
One of the great features of the Icom 706 Mark II-G and the other Icom 706s is its ability to remove the front panel, allowing remote operation using the appropriate separation cable. If you're going to mount this unit remotely somewhere in your car, please ensure it has plenty of ventilation. This unit does get rather warm, even at low power. And that brings me on to just the one negative about this radio. It does have quite a high current draw. No problem at all if you're running a big leisure battery in your vehicle, or no problem at all if you've got a good power supply at home base. But if you're thinking about running this portable, be aware, even on receive, it's pulling a couple of amps. On the rear, you're spoilt for choice. Everything you want to connect, you can connect. It has 2 antenna sockets, one for HF up to 6 meters and one for VHF and UHF. We'll take a closer look at what you can plug in a little later. Considering its relatively compact size, it does have a fairly good internal speaker. Punchy, clear, crisp. Now, if you're one of these people who enjoys looking at the internals of these radios as much as you do looking at the outside, here's a treat for you. This is the Icom 706 Mark II-G, Icom's over-engineered radio. Icom obviously put a lot of work and thought into these radios. I mean, they're still working today, 25 plus years later. They've crammed in board and components one after the other, and they all work together in unison. And not just work, they work very well. When Icom designed these radios, they thought of the end user, and they've given the ability for you to add in extra filters of your choice at a later date.
Nice to hear you again, Don. Yeah, anytime. Jump in anytime. Yeah, I think we last talked February 2nd, I think it was, here on 10 meters. So good to see you again. Good luck on the bands today. Take care, Don. W9LTF, this is KB9UMT, 73.
When people talk about the Icom 706 series, they talk about the evolution. The evolution from the original 706, the 706 Mark II, and then the 706 Mark II-G. Icom was so sure of this radio right from the start. Their advertising brochures showed it being used mobile, out portable, and home base. They knew from the start they were onto a winner, and this was an all-round proper shack in the box. These glossy pages appeared in many radio magazines advertising the legacy of the IC 706 series of radios. Please feel free to pause on the pages to read the information contained. Each new evolution brought with it some changes, extra power, extra band. But Icom stuck with what worked. They didn't change it unless they needed it to be changed. Feedback from customers was listened to, and these radios became one of the best sellers for Icom. And here is that final evolution, the Mark II-G. It is, like I said at the start, Icom's icon.
Ciao, amigo. Ciao. David, pues está bien, llega fuerte el amigo ahí, Bobby, Estaba por aquí poniendo 5-9 más 10 en la isla de La Palma.
So here's a quick overview of the Mark II-G. Please pause and read it through. I mentioned the rear of this radio, and you can plug almost anything into it. So let's have a quick look at the cables and connectors. Cables and connectors were available direct from Icom and many third-party suppliers. Computer control cables, separation cables and programming cables, to name but a few. When you purchased the Icom 706, it came with a standard HM103 electret condenser microphone. Do you like that? Electret. Condenser microphone. It's tiny, it's compact, but it does pack a wonderful punch. Great audio. It was unlikely, but if you was unhappy with the HM103 microphone, you could always buy an adapter to fit the microphone of your choice, or purchase one of the other many Icom microphones that would do a splendid job. The standard power cord is a hefty old beast because, like I say, this radio does draw some current at max chat. Now, the standard power cord comes with two fuses, standard type fuses and fuse holders. But over time, these can become a little bit brittle. It's a 6-pin standard Icom connector, but I would recommend changing or upgrading to a blade type fuse holder. These tend to be more reliable than the original Icom fuse holders, which can heat up. I've only scratched the surface with this Icom. It's absolutely bristling with features. I've not even mentioned the band scope, or the DSP in the Mark II, or the speech compressor, or the RF meter, or signal meter, the attenuator, the preamplifier, the actual 1 Hertz displays, the full scanning options. It does so much. These radios are coming down in price, and there are some lovely models out there still to be had. That's why I say you really need one. They are an all-round great little radio. And before I get asked, yes, you can expand these. You can use them on 60 meters. You can also use them on other bands. So if you know a fellow amateur or fellow ham who's using one of these Icoms, ask him if you can borrow it. Have a go. See for yourself how good these little radios are, how versatile they are. They are fantastic. It's one of the best HF all-round radios out there, especially for the price. So get on air, enjoy the contacts and 73s.